Hello again, and here we are for the home edition of Read This Book. I'm Lisa Von Drasek. I'm the curator of the Children's Literature Research Collections of the University of Minnesota. And with me today is...
Hi, I'm Carissa Tomlinson. I am from the University of Minnesota Libraries. I'm the director in the Physical Sciences and Engineering department. I have staff in my department who are liaisons for the College of Science and Engineering. So they're the librarians who work with faculty and students from the different College of Science and Engineering departments, helping them find their research, helping them with data management, those kinds of things. In my department, I also have all the operations staff for the East Bank libraries. And then most recently, the Toaster Innovation Hub is in Walter Library.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing what comes out of the Toaster.
Absolutely.
So today you brought a book. Can you show me the cover and give me the title and who wrote it?
So this is Cribsheet. It's a data-driven guide to better, more relaxed parenting from birth to preschool by Emily Oster.
And so it's a recent book,
2019.
And so my first question really is, it's a parenting book. So are you a parent?
I sure am. I have a almost 4-year-old, Tilda, and she's home with me now, so hopefully she won't be wandering in the room at any moment.
And tell me a little bit about how you came by this title.
Sure. So I actually read another book by Emily Oster before this. The book that I read previously was Expecting Better: Why Conventional Wisdom is Wrong and Why You Really Need to Know and What You Really Need to Know about Pregnancy. So that was what I read when I was pregnant. That book I don't actually own anymore because I passed it along to a pregnant friend. And this book is kind of the next level. So it's after the baby is born through preschool, you know, how to make decisions about parenting and what are the kinds of things to be thinking about. I've always kind of been a person who likes to be in control, and with parenting, that's really not possible. So I found these books to be really useful because they're data-driven. Emily Oster, the author, is an economist, actually. She's at Brown University. And everything that she writes about are kind of the hot topics, the decisions that you're told you need to make as a parent, or maybe that you really do need to make as a parent. You know, are you going to breastfeed? Are you going to bottle feed? Are you going to send your kid to preschool? Those kinds of things. And she looks at all of the literature and kind of synthesizes it for you. And I've always been somebody who's very into science. So this is a great way for me to parent.
So I was just reading on one of those advice column blog things, because that's what I like to read, about the two sides to sitting down as a family for dinner. Does she talk about that?
I think maybe I'm hoping that's in the next book. I hope there's a next book. This book really just goes through preschool, so it hasn't gotten to maybe that level yet. But now my daughter is, she's kind of grown out of this book, so I'm waiting for the next book.
This is for toddlerhood.
This is infant through preschool, but I think she really ends around 3. Yeah.
So can you give me just one example of something you were thinking a lot about in your parenting with your child, and that this book had some advice and some data-driven information?
Sure. Sleep. My daughter didn't sleep for what seemed like forever. So about 14 months until I had a full night of sleep. So this book was helpful in, you know, thinking about different sleep training techniques and whether or not I'm going to wreck my kid if I let her cry, or, you know, and there's so much different information out there depending on what you read, depending on what your parenting style is. Well, my style is to look at the data and to see, you know, what is reality and what's the evidence. And so she really breaks that down. And what she basically says is that cry it out methods are effective at encouraging nighttime sleep. There's evidence that using these methods improve outcomes for parents, including less depression and better general mental health. There's no evidence of long or short-term harm in infants. If anything, there may be some evidence of short-term benefits. There is evidence of success for a wide variety of specific methods and little to distinguish between them. The most important thing is consistency. Choose a method, you can stick with it and stick with it. So that was very helpful for me. I definitely wasn't consistent, and I think that was a big part of the problem.
And you and your husband have to agree on the method.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So did you close the door and sit on the floor and wait?
We sure tried. We couldn't handle that. So eventually we got to a point when she was old enough, I felt like she understood, and I felt like she was old enough that she didn't think I was abandoning her. So once we got to that point, then we pretty much did that. But when she was younger, I just couldn't get there. But I knew that she would be fine if I did, but I couldn't listen to it. So
that's interesting that your head said, let's do this, and your heart went, oh, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. But it was helpful for me to know, though, like, she'll be fine if I can do it.
And okay, so back to the food thing, because this seems to be a huge thing, like self-feeding, kids eating whenever they want to.
There was some things in here about, I didn't mark it in here, but there was some things about baby-led weaning is another thing that people talk about, another, I don't know, trend. So whether or not you give your baby food or you give them like chunks of vegetables that they learn how to feed themselves. I had read so many places that like you have to choose one or the other, or there'll be this confusion about it.
Right.
It just seems silly to me. And that's kind of what she said too, is that there's not going to be confusion and that you can choose both ways. And that's what we did. We got baby food when it made sense, when it was easy, and we gave her food.
It sounds like this is a readable book.
It's very,
how's the index? Like you can be there in the middle of the night and look something up and go,
Yep.
You put your finger down, go, oh, that's what's going on.
And I appreciate they have charts and graphs. It's about potty training and when it's best to start trying. A lot of it though is there really is no answer. Don't worry about it. It'll all work out. So a lot of times there's no like real definitive information, and that actually made me feel better too.
And that is, it's good to be reassured that you're not an outlier.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow, I'm looking forward to people letting us know if they found read this book helpful in our own advice giving. Statistically, I know that people do enjoy our recommendations.
Great.
So thank you, Carissa, and thank you for bringing us say the title again. Cribsheet.
Yep.
By Emily Oster. And that's all we have time for today on Read This Book.